think as far as I can remember is when I was a teenager, around 16 years, yeah. There were these village movie shows where people used to pay and then you go and watch a whole movie. So there were those sessions in the evening which were for 18 and over, but they were not saying they were pornography. So there were these friends I had. So one of my friends is the one who introduced me to those movies. So we went there and we watched, but I was still a teen. I was below 18. So after I watched, so I would maybe look for an opportunity. If I go and watch. But the time when I became so much used to is when I completed high school and I was able to get my first smartphone. Then I went to campus, so I had my phone, I had my laptop, and there was free Wi-Fi. So I think that was the time where now it became like a habit. So I wanted to watch, so I could be able to watch it, and I had all the avenue to be able to watch them. Yeah, sure. I think one thing it really affected was my self-esteem. And so consequently, my relationship with people, because now I was feeling bad after watching it, the guilt and the shame. So of course I would find a lot of issue relating with other people. Like I became a little bit withdrawn. So it actually also affected my studies because I'd find myself watching it a lot of time. So the time maybe I'm supposed to be studying is the time I'm watching. And even after I watch, the things I would think about and meditate about were such things. So of course, the time that I was supposed to spend in my studies, I would spend it thinking about many other things. So actually, it really affected my studies and even my performance actually. Even I remember even when I was meeting Ruth, one of the things that was really stressing me is that I felt I had already wasted time. My studies were so much down and I was so much anxious even about my future, maybe after school and all that, because I was feeling like I'm failing and I'll actually even fail for the final grade. Yeah, so actually it really affected. I think there came a time when I felt the thing was too much. Because in the beginning I didn't feel like it was an addiction. I just felt it was for fun and all that. But I realized it was an addiction and a problem when I wanted to leave it. Now I felt this is wrong and I was feeling a lot of guilt and I had to stop watching it. But I couldn't. So that's when I realized I had a problem. But now I was a bit ashamed of speaking to people who knew me because I was a church guy. People knew I was born again. I would even preach in church. So it would be a lot of shameful. It would be shameful for me to share with people who knew me because of fearing to be judged and how they would start seeing me from a different angle from the way they knew me. So I was looking for a person who maybe I could share, but they didn't know me. And people also who could understand, and more so people who had already gone through the same issue so that they could be able to understand me more. And this is the time when I saw Ruth's story online. I think she had an interview with Daily Nation. So I looked for that link. I read the story. And then when I read the story, that's when I knew that. So when I read the story, I identified with it. So I knew this is something that I'm going through. And this person was so willing to help me overcome it. So I felt this is where maybe my help could come from. So I went online and searched for Ruth. So when I searched for Ruth, it took me to her social media handle, Facebook. So I DM'd her and I told her about my issue and I told her I would like to talk to her. So I thank God because Ruth was so friendly and she was so much willing to help. And so we met and I shared my story to her. And when I shared my story to her, at least I felt a lot of relief because I knew this is a person who doesn't know me. So I was really willing to openly share my story without any fear. So I talked to her and she understood me. And the best thing with Ruth is that, I thought that maybe my issue was that I had a bad company or something. But Ruth helped me to look for the root cause of the issue. So we started going through my story, like my background, how was I brought up, the family I grew up in. And that is where I actually saw the main problem with addiction was coming from. I had issues which are not dealt with, because coming from a family where I was brought up by a single parent, there was an absent father. So there were issues of lack of formation, lack of fatherly love, and also being anxious about life. Maybe my needs, my source of things and all that. So I realized that whenever I would be anxious about something, even at school, when maybe the exams are near and I'm not well prepared, they'll give me a lot of anxiety, and that is the time I would watch a lot of porn. So I came to learn that that was actually the main cause of my addiction. So Ruth started taking me to a journey of dealing with that, and she was mixing counseling with also biblical principles, like counseling which was faith-based. And so she started teaching me about trusting God, making God as my source, trusting Him, trusting in His love, in His promises. And so I started feeling that even if I didn't see my father raising me, or my physical father, at least I had a father who was God, actually. And I started learning to trust God. And I remember most of the time Ruth would use these words like, okay, because you are a Christian, you know that God is your father, but do you trust it? Do you believe it deep in your heart? And so she started helping me to believe God, more than just knowing about Him, also believing about Him and also His word. And that actually helped me to deal with anxiety. So every time I would find myself maybe lacking, maybe fearing about my future, I would learn to trust in Him. So that reduced my anxiety, and consequently it reduced also my watching of porn, because I would find like relief or consolation in porn. But the main thing was actually I'm fearing about something, I'm anxious about something. So that's how I met Ruth, and we walked in a journey. Actually, remember, we would meet almost every month, at least once or twice every month, and she would take me through the Word of God. I would share my story, and she would really guide me in a lot of things. And also she would, I remember even I was fearing, when I was in school, I was fearing like, I'm not performing well. So I was fearing like I would like employment and all that. But when I learned to trust in God, actually in my life, I have never tarmacked actually. Since I finished campus, I've always been working, moving from one company to another, and actually having many benefits and all that. So that's how I met Ruth, and that's how she helped me. So with time, okay, there were relapses, but actually, Ruth would not judge me. That is one thing I liked about her. She was really understanding. She did not judge me and all that. So I found a person who was understanding and who identified with my issues. And that is how with time I overcame it. So I would have relapses, but I would go back to the straighter life. And yeah, with time I was able to overcome it until I stopped it completely. I think we met with Ruth, I think it was 2017? Yeah, maybe around there. So it's been those almost 4 years. Yeah, I would say 4 years. Yeah.